and welcome back to the Magic Kathy Show, and an update out of the in-between state, I want to say, because yesterday Saturn moved retrograde, and in a few days we have Neptune moving retrograde, and that's obviously significant to really important planets, but they also happen to be retrograding in the same sign, which is the last sign, which is Pisces. And since we are also in Cancer season, another water sign, I wanted to actually draw your attention to something really interesting that is coinciding and happening with those retrograde cycles that give us a bigger understanding of how we are internally shifting with these retrograde movements. Retrogrades are always when the planets are basically going into a reflective period, which is very connected to the moon, right? It's this yin movement inward and really reconsidering, pausing, reflecting, restructuring, rethinking, reevaluating our lives, right? And in Pisces, it's very connected to our divine nature and how we let nature and the divine nature work through us on a higher, from a higher viewpoint. And these Pisces energies can feel really draining. They can feel really foggy. It's not really clear. We have these fantasies, but we don't really know how to bring them about. And so the answers are obviously always within, but these retrogrades, both Saturn and Neptune and Pisces, happen to unfold and tell us a bigger story of the evolution that we are all going through up until the end of this year. So if you're excited about that, then let me tell you, let's talk. But before I dive into the nitty-gritty, I also want to invite you to our new moon in Cancer Circle on Friday. Link is down below in the show notes. And also, if you happen to have your solar return or anything basically really activated and charged in your life right now, definitely reach out to me, get some clarity in the fog, in the confusion for a breakthrough session. I had some magical breakthrough sessions over the last few days and weeks, and Cancer season is always, I say, a good time to also connect with your moon sign, to connect with your energy in general and how to best navigate your energy, specifically if you have so much activity happening where we might feel drained, we might have like health issues, and usually it's because we don't manage our energy in the way that spirit wants us to, or the higher intelligence wants us to. And so if we constantly flow against the current because we are not in alignment with the path that we signed up for, then we have issues coming up. We feel drained, we feel foggy, things are not flowing, we feel irritated, all of these things, right? So obviously these transits are always really significant and activating, but if you are in alignment, it's easier to navigate them without feeling completely off. So if you're interested in human design, gene keys, or learning more about how to nurture your moon sign, reach out to me, info@abracadabrababy.de, or on Instagram, MagicKathyOfficial. You know where you can find me. The links are also down below in the show notes. And with all of that being said, let's dive into, first of all, the significance of Saturn retrograde in Pisces. Saturn is not really happy in Pisces. Let's just say that. Saturn is all about structure and boundaries and laws and rules. And I mean, everything Capricorn you can think of, right? Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. And in Pisces, it's like all being dissolved. It's all being shadowed, and it's all like the divine taking over and being like, oh, that's a sweet idea, daddy. But let's just go and connect with the real daddy and not plan so much and really let go of all of this weirdness that you put in place as a human being because you think that gives you some sort of control. That's basically what Pisces is saying. And so it's like the universe taking over again. And that's very connected, obviously, to what we even go through globally, right? Where it's like, we humans think we are so above nature and put all of these structures and things into place and think, that makes us sort of like master reality, quote unquote reality. But it only hurts us in the end. And so when Saturn is moving retrograde in Pisces, we really have to reconsider how we structure our life and if it's in alignment with our divine nature. And wherever it's not in alignment, basically it's being dissolved, it's being shattered, it's being swept away. And it's very interesting to see, because as Saturn moves retrograde on the 29th of June, we have the moon connected with Chiron, so in Aries. So there's definitely this wound of powerlessness, of like things, old triggers coming up, and maybe also old triggers showing us why we have these systems in place in the first place, so we can better let go of them and surrender them and see that they are no longer serving us. That's the highest aspect of this transit, right? And so if we look at how long this cycle is lasting, which is basically until November 15, and November 15, mark it in your calendar, like seriously. It's the day we have the full moon in Taurus conjunct Uranus, literally conjunct Uranus. And on the very same day, Saturn decides to move forward again. Obviously not a coincidence, right? So there's definitely something, a big shift happening with that full moon. I mean, it's Scorpio season, and then we have the full moon in Taurus. There's definitely some release point in regards to values, in regards to the monetary system, in regards to all of these things, right? The security here on Earth, and how we live in this illusion that these Saturn structures gave us some sense of security, when really it's actually hindering us from evolving spiritually and being connected spiritually. So over the next 5 months, we are having this opportunity to restructure that, to realign, to be more self-sufficient, so this full moon is not hitting us so much. That's the highest aspect that I see with it. And so obviously it's not a coincidence that Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, happens to move retrograde as well, basically 2 days after Saturn moves retrograde. So on July 2nd, we have Neptune moving retrograde. And very interesting, it happens while the moon is conjunct Uranus as well, right? Obviously not a full moon, but still there's this connection to the moon. So our inner world, our emotional safety, our emotional security, and some breakthrough that needs to happen with Uranus. And whenever we speak about Uranus, it's very important to understand his role here too, because from the perspective of the planets, I always say Uranus comes into your life to help you break free from the Saturnian limitations, so you can connect to Neptune and Pluto, right, to the higher realms, to your soul and to your spiritual nature. So interesting that there's some sort of inner barrier or boundary or structure or emotional safety pattern that we need to break through in order to connect to our true spirit, to our true nature, right? And that's the story that we are seeing here playing out. Obviously, Cancer being the opposite side of Capricorn as well. So there's definitely some connection here. And then we're also building up to the new moon in Cancer in a few days, which is basically happening with Venus facing the Saturn-Pluto conjunction point that we had in Capricorn in 2020. So it's also a chain story that is playing out since 2020, where we needed to find that security and safety inside of ourselves, but not from a shielding perspective, but from this, I'm connecting to my spirit, I'm connecting to my soul, I'm connecting to my dharma, and I trust that life supports me, and not these external forces, people, places, structures, governments, healthcare, like you name it. There's so many things where we externalize our power and think that we are being sourced from something in the external, but we're really asked to be sourced from within, right? So what is coming up for you right now? What's the narrative that is playing out here? Because also while Neptune is stationing, we have Mercury opposing Pluto in Aquarius. So clearly that emotional pattern, that safety, security pattern, is somehow hindering you from moving forward into that liberated future, into being of service, into feeling that connection to spirit, feeling that connection to a greater whole, the community, the web of life, all of these things, right? These things will all come up, so we understand that we are all part of a divine symphony, and wherever the tone is off, we are not playing our part, and that the whole symphony is not really in tune, right? And so that's where the havoc and the chaos is starting to happen. And interestingly enough, Neptune, when Neptune moves forward again, which is on December 7th or 8th, depending on your time zone, we have something very significant happening as well. And again, all of that is not a coincidence, right? Never a coincidence. So remind you that we end Saturn retrograde with a shattering moon Uranus full moon, right? In Scorpio, full moon in Taurus. So that's significant. A very shattering transit, a conjunction, Uranus, moon, always a breakthrough point. But if it's a full moon, it's like amplifying that, right? It feels like another eclipse, honestly. And then we have Neptune stationing to move forward on December 8th with, hold your feathers, I want to say, a Venus Pluto conjunction at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Yes. And Pluto is never going to be at this degree point ever again. So we will never witness a Venus Pluto conjunction at that degree point. Never. And so obviously that speaks again about the values for the future. What do you want to create for the future? How do you create it in alignment with your divine nature and your connection to that, right? And wherever you are disconnected from that, that Neptune retrograde really wants you to see, where is your connection to spirit? Where is your connection to a greater whole? Where is your dream, right? The dream that spirit plants into your heart for the future, for humanity, for yourself as well, right? And on the same day, we have a Jupiter-Sun opposition as well, right? Jupiter in Gemini, middle Gemini, Sun in Sagittarius. And on top of that, we have the moon in Pisces. So it's like all about this divine question of where are we at with our divine nature, right? How are we at with our soul purpose? How are we doing our fractal piece of creation? And like how do we help the story, the divine story unfold? Or do we help it at all, right? Or are we just focused on our own little healing drama that can finally actually let go of, but we're still clinging on to it because we identify ourselves almost with our healing instead of stepping into our power, right? And so the question really is here, how do we take action? How do we step in our power? And where do we get the energy and the boost and the inspiration from? Well, inspiration itself says it, you know. Are you in spirit? Are you inspired? Are you inspired? Are you in spirit? Are you in your spirit? Because then there is always inspiration. There's always something to do. There's always that creative spark, that fire in you that is like, fuck, I want to make this happen, right? Interestingly enough, in December, just 2 days after Neptune moves forward, we have Mars moving retrograde in Leo. So there's a big focus also on that Leo energy that helps us really activate our creative potential, creative juices, our creative spark. What do we want to create for the future? It's all about creating something, right? Creating alternatives, creating it. Not waiting for things to fall into place in the outside and then we change our life and then we finally surrender and then we finally... No, it's like you create the alternatives in alignment with your spirit, in alignment with your soul contract. All of these things are being really reconsidered right now. Because otherwise it's all about externalizing your power, right? Waiting for things to unfold, waiting. And how long do you want to wait for? Like seriously, what are we even waiting for, right? Nothing is going to magically appear without you actually setting the intention and really connecting with spirit and not the external distraction so much. That's what I really, really feel. And so I'm asking you, I'm inviting you to really reconsider and feel, because it's Cancer season, how these transits activate you and speak to you. Because it's a resonance you feel in your body. It's something where you feel like your entire being is being moved by that field. Specifically when we talk about Pisces and that entire archetype of like, it's literally the forces of spirit of the entire cosmos want to move you, want to move you into a specific direction, want to flow through you. And where are you blocking the flow? Where you are, so fixated on how your life is going to unfold or how the external world should look like or is looking like and how that's stopping you from something. You have to create the alternative way, right? Not just for yourself, but for the collective. And I'm really curious to hear how you feel these energies. At the same time, we have a lot of solar flares, we have a lot of upgrades, we have a lot of boost and support happening as well. So we can really leverage that time, right? Pause for a minute whenever the planet is stationed, reconsider and see, okay, what is my assignment? What is my homework for this retrograde period? Maybe even while you listen, something came up for you and you can take note of that, because obviously I'm recording it and uploading it and you listen to it maybe while we have this stationing phase where it's really pointing a finger to what it is, what topic it is that you need to reconsider, that might stopping you from being in spirit, from being inspired, from being in alignment. What is it? And then you might hear whispers of your soul telling you this is the next action step you can do to align again, right? Or this is where we need to reevaluate. This is where, you know, your next puzzle piece and the next stepping stone might be. Go there, go there, go there. Don't go there. You know, set some boundaries. All of these things are being reconsidered. So I would love, love, love to hear what came up for you while you were listening, but then also, yeah, maybe the next few days, you know, what surfaces for you. Because usually it is in those heightened energetic days where we have the retrograde starting that Spirit is clearly communicating with us what the story is all about and what we are being asked to do. And if you would like to share that, please, please, please feel free to do so on Instagram, Magic Cathy Official. Just shoot me a DM, or, you know, screenshot the podcast and tag me in your stories so I can see how and when you listen. And also you spread the word for these messages, you know, so we all can wake up and like really realize what our part in that entire orchestration is and play our puzzle piece, as I always like to say. So I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a review on iTunes if you enjoy these podcasts. If you would like to support me as the creator as well, it means the world to me. And yeah, spread the word, share it with someone. And if you would like to have some personal activation for yourself for this next 5 months, for this entire, basically the rest of this year, then let me know if you would like to have a breakthrough session for diving deep into the gene keys, human design, and astrology. I would love to shine a light on your individual puzzle piece that you are. And with all of that being said, obviously help you step in your magic.